श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। स्मृतिभिश्च न जायते म्रियते वा नादत्ते कस्यचित् पापं यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं क्षेत्रज्ञं चापि मां विद्धि न सत्तन्नासदुच्यते अनादित्वान् निर्गुणत्वात् समं सर्वेषु भूतेषु उत्तमः पुरुषः इत्यादिभिः श्रुत्युक्तलक्षण अविरुद्धाभिः परमात्मा असंसारित्व प्रतिपादन पराभिः तस्य सर्वेण अनन्यत्व प्रतिपादन पराभिश्च। So Guruhu Sishyam Bodhayet, that comes from above. This is how the teacher should instruct the students. By explaining such vakyas from the Gita, the teacher should instruct the students. The instruction must be helpful to the student, to uplift him. Now, suppose you hand over a belief to the student. So, he first fixes himself in that belief, and thereby he stops thinking. And so, his mind becomes crippled. Whole life, he will be moving like a tram car, or like a wet grinder, whole life. Nothing else. You put some pulses into it, you get some paste out of it. The same thing. And mumbling the same things day after day after day, and become very mechanical. Sometimes what happens, it may be rewarding in a worldly way. But what is the use of getting reward in the worldly way? The person is already compromised. The spiritual progress will not be there. Therefore, just handing over a belief system to the student is not considered a very worthy thing to do. Generally, when I examine our childhood, how they were doing, etc., when I keenly examine, I got a feeling that they were not exactly handing over a belief system. For example, they used to give us Gayatri Mantra, which is not a belief system. Gayatri Mantra is a vision, and you have to understand it. The more you understand, the more you are fulfilled. So that is how the rishis were visualizing things. Therefore, at a young age, give him Gayatri Mantra and ask him to chant it, and also know the meaning. That is how they used to encourage. And then teach some Sanskrit so that the boys can understand at least the basic meaning of the mantra. Like that, they used to instruct, and then teach the language, literature, etc. Not just some belief system and then fit into a person into it. They were not doing like that. And then the chants were also, for example, the very first chant that I have learnt was Dakshinamurti Stotram. When I look back, I feel amazed that the chants that were instructed in that innocent time, the child doesn't, the young boys don't know anything. Whatever the elders ask us to chant, we chant. And therefore they were asking us to chant Dakshinamurti Stotram. So we stand up and chant Vishwam Pashyati. like that, Vishwam, Darshana, Darpana, Drishyamana, Nagari, Tulyam, etc. And we used to chant with a lot of enthusiasm. So children competing with each other in chanting, used to do like that. So that way you have to help the children to grow into a life of thinking and examining, investigating. Like that you have to instruct the students. That is what he says. So, and whatever you instruct, you should not go against the vision of Shruti. That is what he says. Shrutyukta lakshana aviruddhabhihi. Why he is talking like that, Shankara? Why he is saying you should not instruct things that contradict the vision of the Shruti? Or in other words, you have to instruct the student with those things which do not contradict the vision of the Shruti. You see, there is a thing called Shruti and then there is a thing called Smoothie. If you examine these two carefully, because they constitute the two streams in the flow of religious life. There are two streams. Like Ganga and Yamuna, like that they are flowing. And both are there. Like for example, Gayatri Mantra is Shruti. And then Gita is a Smruti. So, Upanishad Shruti, Gita Smruti. Like that, the two streams are there. We value both. But then, there is a fundamental difference between Shruti and Smruti. These people have to know. Generally, what happened in the last 1,000 years, or even more, there is a period called medieval period. In the medieval period, India lost its genius. That's why India became a slave for more than 1,000 years. They have lost their glory in every conceivable field. For example, Indians, they discovered zero and gave it to the world. They were great mathematicians and astronomers. Now all of that is gone and we are left with some bunch of superstitions. Most unfortunate. And then, so India had the tremendous vision of the Upanishads. All of that, if you go to the society, you don't find the vision of Upanishads in any significant way. And the place is taken over by so many sects. Even New Year sects are coming up on a daily basis. And so people have gone crazy about forms and forms and forms. The whole land is filled with idols. The gods, idols of gods and goddesses and political leaders and gurus, you name it, you will find. If you go to Sarkar districts and Telugu states, you will find huge Hanuman idols for every 20 kilometers. What will you do with all those idols? So the vision of Upanishads is replaced by this kind of variety of religious beliefs, very sectarian, nothing inspiring in all that. So what I was trying to say, you should understand the difference between Shruti and Smruti. Shruti is an expression of direct experience. That is what Shruti is. You directly experience the oneness between the antaryami of the solar orb and the same antaryami in you. That oneness is experienced directly, direct perception, or direct experience or direct perception, sakshatkara what we call. And then that comes out as a mantra. That is the meaning of mantras, meaning of mantra. That's why the rishis who have perceived directly the truth and then expressed in the form of the mantras are called mantradrashtaraha. Those who have seen the mantras. That is Shruti. Then comes Smruti. Smruti is what you pull out from your memory is the Smruti. This is called pickle knowledge. So you prepare pickle and preserve it. So to preserve it, you put lot of salt into it. That's why the first thing in India, when somebody has BP, the doctor tells stop eating pickle. Because through pickle, he is consuming so much of salt. And salt is very dangerous for BP. Therefore, that is so much salt. And gradually we become accustomed to that extra salt. And to compensate for the salt, you add extra chilies. People believe that chili is Indian. Chili is not Indian. Chili is Mexican. If you go to Mexico or towards Mexico side, California, etc., you will find these restaurants called chili. They are very costly restaurants. And he puts the symbol is a chili is the symbol. You can see that also. The word chili itself is a Mexican word. It is not Indian word. Chilies came from Mexico to Colombo, and from Colombo to more or less Andhra Pradesh they came. Kind of. Chennai and Andhra Pradesh. Chennai is the port from Colombo to Chennai, and then Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. So along with the product came the name also. That is how chili has come. And so add a lot of chili powder to compensate for this salt. If you reduce salt, it won't be preserved. And then add a lot of oil into it. That is the pickle. And whenever you need some tasty stuff to go with the rice, that is, we are rice eating people, you know. So the rice makes people very dull, physically as well as mentally, because it is all carbohydrate. And that's why when they have this diabetes, etc. problem in South India, the doctors tell stop eating rice and eat wheat. That is what they say. You see, you look at the world, the wheat eating Europe and the rice eating Asia, you can see the difference. Anyway, so take this pickle and eat a lot of rice along with the help of the pickle. So this Vedanta, something you by heart or you study to some extent and preserve it in the head, and then pull out and say. This is called Smoothie. The name itself says, you know. Therefore, there is a stream called Smoothie and there is a stream called Shruti. And now, do they flow parallel to each other? The answer is yes and no. Some of them are parallel. The Smoothie is a letter, you know. It comes from the human intellect. That's why it is called Smoothie. Whereas Shruti comes from a source deeper than intellect. It has come from a direct perception of the saintly Mahatma. And therefore, Smriti is considered more valid. Shruti is considered more valid than Smriti. In fact, these things were discussed in big detail in Purva Mimamsa also. And they conclude that a particular Smriti is valid only if it follows the vision of Shruti in letter and spirit. But as the Smritis proliferated, proliferate means it begins as a small book where the life of the people is regulated by a set of laws. Smriti is, it gives laws to people to lead their lives in a proper way. And so it starts as a small book, but then people add things to it. It is like an ancient Wikipedia. You can add whatever you want. Only thing is it must be added in Sanskrit and in Anushtup meter. And that's why these Smritis are patchy. They are not uniform. They are patchy because everybody adds something to it. And the original name is retained. Like if you take Manos Purity, Manos Purity has gained a lot of bad name in recent during the independence movement also. Mahatma Gandhi has to face a lot of flack because of some of the points which are incorporated into Manos Purity. So Shri Krishna says, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma vibhagashaha Manos Purity has made that vision of Shri Krishna in Gita into a dead letter and converted guna karma, replaced guna karma by birth. Not original Manu. The people who have added things to the Manos Purity. In fact, I was trying to find something about it. There is a thing called Manu Samhita. Some of it is quoted by Shankara. Whether the book is available, maybe it may be around somewhere. And then there is a book called Manos Purity, which is available. So, some of the Mahatmas opined that Manu Samhita is valid, authentic. Not Manu Samhita, Manu Smriti so much. And Manu Smriti is, so many things are added into it. And in Manu Smriti, some of the verses sound like Gita and Upanishad. But as you go later, the society is divided and the verses sound very sectarian and sometimes very cruel, and some of the very undesirable statements, undesirable in the context of social unity, so they are all found in these patchy sections of the Manusmriti. And therefore, the Smriti, it converts the Shruti into a dead letter. So people should pay attention to all this. They cannot simply blindly follow what all is printed. Somebody else is following, therefore I follow. So like that, andhena iva niyamana yathandhaha, that kind of a situation, it doesn't become of highly evolved and educated people. So people have to think. So I always encourage people recite all kinds of stotras, and so I tell them, now you are reciting all right. I ask you two questions. One, do you know the meaning of what you recite? They say no. Then better you know the meaning. And then what should we do? As you know the meaning, some of them you find very undesirable. They will make you red in the face. Then what should we do? Well, drop it. Who asked you to recite it? So recite some Kaupena Panchakam you recite, or Dakshinamurti Stotram you recite, something valid like that you recite. There are many such wonderful things. Hanuman Chalisa you recite. If you want Tulsidas Hanuman Chalisa you recite. Recite something valid, not some funny thing. So, which has no meaning, which has no valid meaning. Some silly meaning will be there. Therefore, so while teaching, you should have to make the distinction clearly, and the student should be encouraged to discriminate. There must be discrimination, the discernment between the real and fake, and the vision that supportive of the vision of unity versus supportive of fragmentary thinking. You have to follow the correct kind of texts, and the teacher should instruct the correct kind of texts. The teachers cannot instruct some silly text, though the text may be very popular in the society. Therefore, Shrutyukta Lakshana Aviruddhabhi. This point was mentioned very forcibly, was discussed very forcibly by two Mahatmas, as far as I know. If you have patience, you have to go through the literature and understand. One is Swami Vivekananda. He has written so much about the practices in the Hindu society, and so much he has written, and so forcibly that too he lived. Even today we are afraid of speaking because people are so obscurantist, and if you speak they resist, and so why to disturb people? You don't want to disturb people. We want to uplift the people, give some useful message to the people, not to disturb them. But when ultimately they get disturbed only. So that is a very sad situation. Nobody likes it. I mean, we are not interested in fighting with people, you know. That is not the goal. And therefore, so in modern times, in 2019, we have to hesitate to say a few things which were said 10 times more forcibly in 1901 or 2 by Swami Vivekananda. If you read Swami Vivekananda, you will be stunned. Is that what he said? Yes. Some of the practices that were there in the society in the name of the religion were so bogus and so opposite to the vision of the Shruti. Do you know, when Vivekananda Swami returned from Parliament of Religions, having gone to America and presented the glory of Hinduism in the most resplendent way, and got accolades from the saints and sages of all over the world. And so his trip to America was one marvelous success, and he returned to Chennai. I mean by boat, ship. And when he got down, the Chennai, some Sangha was there, Sanatana Dharma Sangha or whatever, they all assembled and took black flags and went to shout him down, 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 down. You should not come to Chennai. We don't allow you to come to Chennai because you have violated dharma in crossing the ocean. Because he has to virtually cross, literally he has to cross the ocean by ship. Now, what could be wrong by going by ship? India was surrounded by water on 3 sides. Only on one side it is land, that is Himalaya side, north. Rest of the coast, rest of the land is surrounded by water, and 3 oceans all around. Will there not be maritime operations? Will there not be boats traveling up and down the oceans? How do you expect that? And then have a law that is coming from Smoothie. The Smoothie is you should not cross the boat. You should not cross the ocean. What kind of Smoothie it is? What is the meaning of that? And therefore Swami Vivekananda did not follow it. Therefore now he is called Patitaha. Patitaha means downfallen, fallen down. He doesn't deserve to be considered as a Hindu. He should not be allowed to come to anywhere near the regular practicing Hindus because he has fallen down. That is the type of obscurantism and that is the type of bigotry that people practiced, all in the name of Smriti. And therefore you have to understand whatever Smriti or whatever prayers or stotras, hymns, etc. you recite should not go against the vision of Shruti. I took my time. It was a small expression there. Shrutyukta lakshana aviruddhabhi. Shruti says, Sarvam khalvidam brahma. That is what Shruti says. And there are any number of Smriti texts, not one, a dozen of them, even more, that say, these people are lowly, these people are superior, they should not come anywhere near. If you look at them, you have to take bath, they cannot enter into the temple, this, that, and then they practice untouchability. And so this kind of a class enmity, a division of the society, treating a human being in the worst possible way. Vivekananda bemoaned, Swami Vivekananda, he bemoaned. He said, if you read the literature, you will know. If you remain like Kopastha Manduka, like the frogs, the proverbial frog in the well. Do you know that story? The proverbial frog in the well? What happened? I will tell the story. I don't wait for your approval. So there was a frog in a well in a village. One time there was a deluge. Huge rains were there and the rivers were in spate, and there was a tsunami kind of situation also. And therefore so much water has flown from the oceans and rivers onto the land, and the well was completely submerged by the water. And a frog from the ocean, it found itself trapped in the well when the waters have receded. Then the frog which was living in the well already, it saw this frog and asked, "You seem to be someone like me. Are you a frog?" It says, "Yes." "So you must have come from somewhere outside?" "Yes." "So from where did you come here?" "You are welcome." "From where?" It said, "Ocean." Then this frog asks, "What is ocean?" "Ocean is a water body, rather big, quite big." "How much big would it be?" Then it takes a leap within the well. "Will it be this big?" No, much bigger than that." "Oh, much bigger than that." Then it takes a bigger leap. "Must be this big." No, you cannot imagine. So stop taking these leaps and all that. It is beyond your thinking. You cannot imagine. It is not there. The DNA is not there in your head. So ocean is too far bigger than anything that you can imagine. So that is the story. Interestingly, this story was told by Swami Vivekananda in the Parliament of Religions. He narrated this story. Therefore, we should not be like that frog in the well. We should have an open mind, and so we should study, because that is our life. We are devoted to study. Pretty much we cannot do anything other than study. I think so. Therefore, while studying, you should study those smurtis, those stotras and hymns, etc., which do not contradict the Shruti, Shrityukta Lakshana Aviruddhabhi. So one day in Hyderabad, the Shringeri Swami came, the Swami Bharati Tirtha. He is a great scholarly Mahatma. He came. And then they received with a Purna Kumbham. Then 2-3 people, without anybody's asking them, they started reciting Manyu Suktam. Manyo, like the Manyu is anger. Anger Sukta. There is a Sukta like that. Anger Sukta. They started reciting that. Then the Swami was taken aback. And there was askance in his face. Then he blurted out, "Hey, stop it. Why Manyu Suktam?" Then I started Purusha Suktam. He liked it. Then a few people joined. So, you see, so for reciting also you have to choose an appropriate thing. Suppose a Mahatma comes, you start Manyu Sukta. That is not the appropriate one. Suppose a Mahatma comes and you start reciting marriage mantras. And marriage is going on, Shraddha mantras reciting. So you have to be appropriate, So that way, so whatever hymns, etc. we recite, we follow, it must not contradict with the vision of the Shruti. The vision of the Shruti should not be converted into a dead letter. You take care, take the precaution, and the teachers should pay attention to that. Therefore, whatever they instruct to the student must not disturb the vision of the Upanishads. And then Paramatma asamsaritva pratipadana parabhihi. You have to teach those Shrutis which present Paramatma. Here Paramatma is not necessarily God, unless you mean God is the real self. So you have to present only those Shrutis and those Smurtis which describe the Atma, the innermost self, as asamsari. Only those. Suppose here comes a text or a prakarana, a small tiny text of a few verses, which presents Atma as the Karta Bhokta. Now, should you teach it or not? You should not. Because it presents Atma as a samsari. What is the definition of samsari? Sukhi, dukhi. That is the samsari. Therefore, there are these experiences of sukha and dukkha. And they happen. There is always a cause for everything. That is how the cause-effect relationship works in this world. Therefore, Sukha and Dukkha are respectively caused by Punya and Papa. They are in turn caused respectively by good and evil actions. And therefore, like that, there is a principle of causality. And so a person who is a karta bhokta performs actions good and evil, earns punya and papa, and goes through the experiences of sukha and dukkha respectively. That is called samsari. Okay, that is the definition of samsari. Now we have seen a lot about that was in the earlier camp. Therefore, this is samsari. Now, what are you? What are you? Suppose I teach you that you are a dasa, slave. You are a kinkara. Kinkara means another name for slave. Kinkarasya bhavaha kainkaryam. You must have heard this word kainkaryam a lot in the religious field. They always talk of kainkaryam. Kainkaryam mane something matalab ka matalab, something undesirable. Anyway, so they use that word kainkaryam a lot, which came from kinkara. Means what? The scriptures, the literature, the hymns, etc., and the prayers, etc., encourage you to develop this feeling of a slave with a rider, slave to God. Therefore, your Atma must be a subservient, not just a subservient. They use the word slave, kinkara. Kinkaraha, kim karomi, iti kinkaraha. So the master tells what to do, and I will do that. The master tells me to dig a hole in the ground, I will do that. I will not ask how. I will just follow what is instructed to me, what I am asked to do. I don't have my own thinking. Like this army people will be there, you know. So, like one army guy, he is carrying in his army retired. He retired from army and he is carrying in the village. So the curds in a cup, he is carrying like this. Carefully he is taking home. And these children who wanted to make fun of him, while he is going, they said, "Attention!" And then he stood like that. And all the curds fell on the ground. That is our friend. You should not be like that. So this is encouraged. You don't think. You just fall in line. Stand in line. Stand up. Attention. Like that. So this is what is regimentation. I mean, you fit the person into a regimen. A scheme will be there and you push the person into the scheme. First prepare the shirt and push the person into the shirt. Call it a tradition. That is the name given to it. First prepare the shirt and push the person into the shirt. He doesn't fit. But see, even if he doesn't fit, put him into that. So it should not be like that. The vision of Atma should never ever be compromised. Atma is not a samsari. So don't present Atma as a dasa or kinkara, separate from God. This kind of dualistic thinking you should not entertain at all. And all such literature which promotes or which encourages such a fragmentary thinking, encourages the subservience of the jiva to some higher gods and goddesses, so and thereby encourages some undesirable practices in the name of rituals. You see, if I say a few things, it will not fit into the audio, into the August assembly situation. So that kind of rituals, etc., are also practiced by people. We don't want to mention them because they are very embarrassing. Some of these rituals and some of these prayers, they are extremely embarrassing. And so only thing is, they are all recited in a language that nobody knows in general. And therefore, They get away with it. And so one day I was just sitting there and somebody is reciting something. Somebody asked me, what is the meaning of it? I said, go and sit on the tree. I will not tell you the meaning. Because if I tell the meaning, it will look very odd. It is misogynistic things will be part of all these prayers. Some of them, not all, some of them. You don't want to get connected with all those prayers. And any teaching that presents yourself as subservient, as a samsari, essentially as a samsari, any teaching that tells you are a sukhi, you are a dukkhi. Do you want more sukham? Yes, I want more sukham. I have a formula for more sukham. And are you afraid of dukkham? Of course we are afraid of dukkham. I have another set of formula to overcome the dukkha for you. I will give you that formula. And when I give the formula, you can keep the dukkha away. And I give another formula, you can get more sukha to your life. Now what does it mean? Does it not make you a sukhi, dukkhi and samsari? This kind of texts, prayers, etc. should not be instructed to the student. Okay? If you have to teach a student, you teach him. Najayate mriyate. You teach him kshetrajnanchapi mam vidhi. You teach him. Otherwise, sharirasthopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. So, the teaching must be very exalted, uplifting, truthful, and should not contradict in any way with the vision of the Shruti. Any teaching that converts the Shruti into a dead letter should be avoided. I tell you, this is how UPADESHA SAHASRI is, and Shankara is like this. He is a revolutionary of his time. If you don't mind, I will make an observation. I mean, in a chronological sense, how things happened. So, this is an observation not entirely my own. Some of it is maybe came out of myself, out of thinking. So, you should think. You should think. You should learn to think. So, when you think, study and think. Think and study. When you do that, you can see some of the things like daylight. So, Shankara's vision started sometime around before Christ, it looks like. I am not a historian to give the date of Shankara with any authority, but it looks like he lived before Christ. It looks like that. There are any number of people who subscribe to an opposite viewpoint that he lived AD, 750 AD, etc. These are called matha politics. There are matha politics. I am not a part to the matha politics. Shankara seems to have lived before Christ. It looks like that. And then he gave a vision. And then people inherited that vision. In the flow of time, so some distortions happen. It happens with every Mahatma, not only with Shankara. It happens with every great man, every visionary it happens. We give an example. You see, the municipality people, so they to clean the roads of sharp iron pieces, because the people travel by the cycles, bicycles, etc. And iron pieces will be there, nails, etc. will be there on the road. And therefore the tire gets punctured. Therefore municipalities, in some cases, they clean the main roads. What do? You know? They put a big magnet, a heavy magnet to a truck at the back and take the truck around on the roads. The truck, when it begins, the magnet is pure, nothing is sticking to it, it is shining brilliantly, and the truck starts. But as the truck is moving, all these iron pieces which are scattered all around the place, they come and attach to the magnet. That is how the place is cleaned. And when the truck comes back into the municipal compound, you cannot recognize a magnet. There will be no magnet. You don't see the magnet anymore. In fact, even the shape of the magnet you will not be able to recognize. because it is so completely completely covered completely by all these iron filings and other things that you don't see the inner magnet. Shankara has become like that. Now if you go to a Shankara Petha, you don't see Shankara there. I mean, you see Shankara's Vigraham, you see. How do you know Shankara looked like that? How do you know Shankara has a face like that? Why not a round face? And Shankara, in all these photos, this is one major complaint that I have. In fact, I say these photographers are racist, these painters, because everywhere Shankara is fair and lovely, kind of. That is how they present Shankara. Shankara cannot be fair and lovely, he cannot be. He hails from Kerala. It is like saying a person coming from Africa, he looks white. How can it be? Just because you love white color. So this is racism, I tell you. I want to see Shankara like a Kerala guy. And I want to see Rama with mustache. These are some of the ideas that I have in my mind. I don't want to see Rama clean shaven. What is that? That is unthinkable. And that Rama and Bhima, Lakshmana without mustache, like modern day heroes of the Bollywood. What is that? They were Kshatriyas, great warriors. Did you ever see Rana Pratap photo, Shivaji Maharaj? Rama and Krishna and Lakshmana, etc., they all look like that. You must be looking like that. Anyway, therefore, if you go to a Shankara Matha, you will have a Shankara's statue or a photo. What is that? That is Shankara? No. The vision of Shankara is completely compromised. He is given a go-by. Completely. You don't find it anywhere. And if Shankara comes now and goes to some of these pithas, he will be stunned. This happens with every religion, with every Mahatma it happens. If Christ comes today and goes to Vatican, he may not be able to digest what is going on there in the name of Christ. Maybe, I don't know what is today's Vatican, but he came a few hundred years back when Spanish Inquisition was in full force. He would run away from the world. He would not be a part of any of that. And same thing about Krishna, Adi Krishna. The kind of distortion that happened to Krishna is unthinkable. And you don't want to even speak about it. The way Krishna was distorted, what he says in Gita, and what Krishna is, the perception of people about Krishna, there is nothing common between the two. Not only that, it is utterly opposite and entirely unacceptable. I used to meet a Mahatma called Bodhananda Saraswati. He used to bemoan a lot. He used to say, what is this Krishna, how he made into this kind of a personality, that is not what he is. There is no comparison between Krishna of Mahabharata with the Krishna that people worship. It happened to Buddha, it happened to Shankara, it happened to all Mahatmas. In general, it happened to Shruti itself. That's why Shankara is exhorting us, study those texts which do not oppose the vision of the Shruti. And he is exhorting the teachers, teach those things to the students which are not contrary to the vision of the Shruti about Atma. Under any circumstances, you should not teach that Atma is a samsari. You should not. Therefore, Paramatma asamsaritva pratipadana parabhihi. Then what else? Tasya sarvena ananyatva pratipadana parabhischa. That Paramatma, what you call God or what you call Atma, it is not different from anything else. Ananya. So that must be the teaching. So suppose you have to teach about God. You have to teach that God who or which Who? You say who? You know the spirit of it. That God who is not different from anything in this world. That is what it says. Tasya sarvena ananyatva pratipadana parabhishya. So, suppose you are looking at a mountain. Is it different from God? No. River. Is it different from God? No. There is nothing in this creation which is different from God. You should not trivialize it. You have to understand the vision and its glory. Therefore, suppose you are looking at Himalayas. What are they? They are manifest God. Then what about Vindhya? They are also more or less manifest God. You should not say. Why more or less manifest God? Manifest God only. What about Alps? Alps in Europe? No, they cannot be God. God can only be in India. Why do you say that? Why should you say that? They are also God. If Ganga is sacred, what about Godavari? It is also sacred. Kaveri, equally sacred. Then what about Nile? Sacred. What about Danube? Sacred. Rhine? Sacred. Mississippi? Sacred. Everything is sacred. So, therefore, that kind of a vision in which when you see the world, you see God. When you see the world, you see God. It is not difficult to appreciate, because when you see the ornaments, you are seeing gold. There is no seeing of gold. Let us say in a jeweler shop, take it like that, in the illustration should be taken in the right way. When you are standing in a jeweler shop, or you are standing in a jewelry expo, there is a thing like that. People are so crazy about jewelry that they conduct expos. Recently there was a jewelry expo in Dubai. You are inside that expo where miles and miles of shops of jewelry are on display. When you are looking at that jewelry expo, whatever you are looking at gold. Similarly, this is like a God expo. Whatever you are looking at an ant or a fly or a bird or a human or an angel, if there is such a thing. So whatever you are looking at is no different from God. So that, therefore, when you see the world, you see God. In fact, I add one more thing, you think about it. There is no seeing God apart from seeing the world. Therefore, either recognize God in what you are looking at or keep quiet. You cannot have a God separate from the world, somehow descend from somewhere above and appear before you. These are not stories. This is not storytelling. Therefore, there is no seeing God apart from seeing the world. I will add one more thing to that. Beyond the world,